Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future deep dives.
You know them, you love them.
We're diving into a topic shrouded in mystery and intrigue.
Oh, yeah.
The end of the last ice age.
It's a good one.
We're going to explore the possibility that a cosmic event triggered mass extinctions and shaped world culture. So buckle up.
Yeah.
Because we're about to embark on a journey through time, examining ancient myths, scientific discoveries, and some seriously mind-boggling theories.
I love a good mind-boggling theory.
Right.
What we're going to uncover challenges the traditional narrative of this period.
I love challenging narratives.
It's a story that blends science and mythology, raising questions about the forces that shaped our planet and the course of human history.
That's what we're here for. Our mission today is to separate fact from fiction and explore the evidence suggesting a cosmic connection to the dramatic events that unfolded at the end of the Ice Age. We're talking vanishing Ice Age hunters, mysterious archaeological anomalies, and perhaps even a touch of cosmic chaos.
That's the best part. A key piece of this puzzle is the sudden disappearance of the Clovis people.
Okay, the Clovis people.
A group of skilled Paleo-Indian hunters who thrived in North America during the late Pleistocene. Around 13,000 years ago, they vanished from the archaeological record.
So for a long time, the prevailing theory was that the Clovis people overhunted large animals, leading to their own demise.
They ate too much.
But that theory doesn't quite hold up
No.
when we consider the scale and the timing of the extinctions.
It's a good point.
That's right.
The overkill theory struggles to explain why these extinctions happened across such a vast geographical area almost simultaneously. It's tough to imagine how human hunters alone could have caused such widespread and rapid ecological collapse.
Exactly. And there's more. Radiocarbon dating of some Clovis-era artifacts suggests a timeline that doesn't quite fit with the traditional narrative. So for instance, at the Paleo-Indian sites of Leavitt and Gainey in Michigan, radiocarbon dating indicates that Ice Age hunters were present thousands of years later than previously thought.
Interesting.
So these findings challenge the established timeline and raise questions about what factors might influence these discrepancies. So we're seeing a potential mismatch between the traditional timeline and what the radiocarbon dating is telling us.
I'm with you.
What could explain these inconsistencies?
That's where things get really interesting.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Researchers began uncovering strange anomalies in the archaeological record, like radioactive Paleo-Indian artifacts and magnetic grains embedded in Clovis-era tools and sediment layers.
Radioactive artifacts, that's not something you hear every day. What could have caused these artifacts to become radioactive?
That's the million-dollar question. These findings suggest that something extraordinary occurred around 13,000 years ago, something that left a distinct signature on the archaeological record. One possibility that researchers have explored is exposure to an unusual source of radiation.
Like what?
Perhaps from a cosmic event.
Ooh, cosmic.
So we're talking about a potential cosmic connection to these radioactive artifacts.
You'd mentioned magnetic grains. What about those?
The presence of magnetic grains, specifically microscopic metallic spherules embedded in artifacts and sediment layers, provides another intriguing clue.
I love a good clue.
These spherules are thought to be remnants of a high-velocity impact event.
So imagine tiny iron-rich particles blasted from a cosmic impact, raining down on Earth,
Right.
and embedding themselves in everything.
That's the picture we're painting.
It's a fascinating piece of the puzzle, and it points towards a dramatic event that could have left a lasting impact on our planet.
And it's not just artifacts and sediment layers. Researchers have even found these magnetic spherules embedded in mammoth tusks, suggesting that this event was widespread and affected animals across a vast geographical area.
This is starting to sound like a scene straight out of a disaster movie.
It kind of is.
We've got radioactive artifacts, magnetic grains raining down from the sky, and extinctions happening on a massive scale. What kind of cosmic event could have caused such widespread chaos?
One possibility is a supernova.
A supernova.
An explosive death of a star. When a star goes supernova, it releases an incredible amount of energy and matter, including radiation.
So you're saying that a supernova happening light years away could have had a direct impact on Earth?
It's a possibility that scientists are actively investigating. If a supernova occurred relatively close to Earth, it could explain the radioactive artifacts, the magnetic grains, and even the radiocarbon dating anomalies we discussed earlier.
Wow.
The radiation from a supernova could have disrupted carbon-14 ratios, leading to the dating discrepancies observed in some Clovis-era artifacts.
That's incredible. But how would a supernova explain the extinction of large animals and the disappearance of the Clovis people?
The effects of a nearby supernova could be devastating.
Okay, how devastating are we talking?
We're talking about the potential for impacts from ejected stellar material, intense radiation bursts that could strip away portions of the Earth's atmosphere, and even the triggering of secondary events like asteroid impacts.
So it's like a cosmic domino effect.
Yeah.
With one event leading to a cascade of catastrophic consequences?
Right.
But wouldn't supernova leave behind more obvious evidence? Wouldn't astronomers be able to see remnants of such a massive explosion?
Supernova do leave behind remnants, and astronomers have identified numerous supernova remnants in our galaxy.
So there is evidence.
One such remnant, known as Geminga, is a pulsar, a rapidly rotating neutron star located about 800 light-years from Earth. What's intriguing is that Geminga appears to be the remnant of a relatively recent supernova, astronomically speaking, and some researchers believe that this supernova might be connected to the events that unfolded at the end of the Ice Age.
So we're talking about a supernova remnant that we can still observe today,
That's right.
potentially linked to the extinction of woolly mammoths and the disappearance of the Clovis people.
Potentially. It's a theory.
That's mind-blowing. But how do we know that Geminga is the right age to be connected to these events?
The timing of Geminga's explosion, estimated to be around 340,000 years ago, aligns with the presence of a specific isotope, potassium-40, found in Clovis-era sediment layers. This isotope is produced in supernova explosions and can persist in the environment for long periods.
So we've got a potential link between a supernova remnant and a specific isotope found at Clovis-era sites.
We do.
That's a pretty strong connection.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
But even if a supernova did occur, how would that have directly impacted the environment and led to the extinctions?
Well, one of the key pieces of evidence is the presence of a mysterious black mat layer found at various Clovis-era sites across North America.
That sounds ominous.
It kind of is. This dark, organic layer, rich in magnetic particles, appears to blanket the very time period when these extinctions occurred.
What do scientists think this black mat is made of?
Good question.
And how does it connect to the supernova theory?
There are a few theories about the black mat's origin. One possibility is that it represents the remnants of massive wildfires, triggered by the supernova's radiation or by the impact of ejected stellar material. Imagine vast stretches of land engulfed in flames, leaving behind a layer of charred organic matter.
It's a grim picture, but it would certainly explain the widespread distribution of this black mat layer.
But is there any evidence to support the idea that wildfires were involved?
Researchers have found high concentrations of charcoal and soot
Okay.
within the black mat layer,
Okay.
which is consistent with widespread burning.
So we've got charcoal, soot, and magnetic particles all within this black mat.
That's what we're finding.
It's starting to look like a cosmic crime scene.
Kind of is.
But is there any direct evidence linking the black mat to the extinction of large animals or the disappearance of the Clovis people?
At the Murray Springs Archaeological Site in Arizona, researchers unearthed the skeleton of a mammoth, nicknamed Big Eloise,
Big Eloise.
directly beneath the black mat layer.
Wow.
Alongside the mammoth skeleton, they found Clovis spear points, suggesting a connection between the mammoth's death, the Clovis people, and this mysterious black mat.
So we got a mammoth,
Yep.
Clovis spear points, and a black mat,
Oh.
all in the same location.
That's a pretty compelling connection.
It is.
What else did researchers find at Murray Springs?
One of the most interesting discoveries was the presence of preserved mammoth footprints
Footprints.
at the site. These footprints indicate a sudden, gentle rise in water levels around the time Big Eloise met her end.
So not only do we have a potential supernova and massive wildfires, but we're also adding a flood to the mix.
Uh-huh.
This is shaping up to be one heck of an Ice Age mystery. What could have caused this sudden rise in water?
One theory is that the black mat itself contributed to the flooding. The layer of charred organic matter may have acted as an impermeable barrier, preventing water from draining properly and leading to a gradual rise in water levels.
So the black mat, potentially formed by supernova-induced wildfires, might ironically cause a flood.
It's possible.
That's a fascinating twist.
Yeah.
But is there another explanation for the rise in water levels?
Another possibility is that the supernova's radiation or the impact of ejected stellar material triggered massive melting of glaciers and ice sheets, leading to a global rise in sea level.
So we're talking about a potential supernova causing wildfires, floods, and rising sea levels.
That's one of the theories.
It's starting to sound like the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's a pretty dramatic scenario.
But before we dive further into the potential consequences of this supernova, let's take a closer look at the black mat itself. You mentioned that there are a few theories about its origin.
Yeah.
Besides wildfires, what else could have created this mysterious layer?
Another possibility is that the black mat represents the remnants of massive toxic algae blooms.
Toxic algae. Hold on. Are we saying that a supernova could have triggered a massive outbreak of poisonous algae?
It's a theory that some researchers have proposed. The sudden changes in temperature, radiation levels, and atmospheric composition caused by the supernova could have created ideal conditions for harmful algal blooms, poisoning water sources, and contributing to the demise of large animals.
So not only are we dealing with potential supernova-induced wildfires and floods, but we're also throwing poisonous algae into the mix.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild scenario.
This is getting pretty intense for our Clovis friends and the megafauna they depended on.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a good time to be alive.
Is there any evidence to support this toxic algae theory?
Researchers studying a mass die-off event in Germany found evidence that points to toxic algae as a potential culprit.
Oh, wow.
They discovered numerous animal skeletons representing different species, all dating back to around 150,000 years ago in a lake basin in Neumark Nord. Analysis of the sediment revealed traces of toxic algae, suggesting that a similar scenario might have played out there as well.
So this toxic algae theory has some legs.
Yeah, it's an interesting possibility.
It's not just a localized phenomenon. It could have been a widespread issue. But let's get back to North America and the Clovis people. We've talked about the supernova, black mat, wildfires, flood, and now toxic algae. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Are there any other pieces of this puzzle
Oh, there's one more.
that we need to consider?
There is one more piece of evidence that we need to discuss, and it's a big one. The Carolina Bays.
I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them. What are they? And how do they fit into this cosmic mystery?
Picture this. Thousands of elliptical depressions scattered across the Atlantic coastal plain from North Carolina to Florida. These are the Carolina Bays.
Okay.
And they've puzzled scientists for decades.
Elliptical depressions. That sounds pretty strange. Are they natural formations or did something cause them?
That's the question that researchers have been trying to answer for years. And it's a question that might be connected to the cosmic events we've been discussing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these Carolina Bays and how they might be linked to a supernova.
One of the most striking features of the Carolina Bays is their orientation. They're all aligned in the same general direction, with their long axes pointing northwest.
So, thousands of elliptical depressions, all pointing the same way.
That's the picture.
That's pretty unusual. What are the theories about how they formed?
There are a few theories.
Give them to me.
Some scientists believe they were formed by wind and water erosion over thousands of years. Others suggest that they might be the result of processes like solution, where acidic groundwater dissolves underlying limestone, creating depressions in the landscape.
So wind, water, or dissolving rock.
Yeah.
Are any of these theories a slam dunk?
Not really. The wind and water theory struggles to explain why the bays are all elliptical and why they're oriented in the same direction.
That's a good point.
Plus, we don't see new bays forming today, which you'd expect if wind and water were the primary forces at play.
That's true.
The solution theory also has its weaknesses. It doesn't fully explain the bay's unique shape or why they're clustered in certain areas.
So the leading theories have some holes in them.
They do.
Is there another explanation that might fit the evidence better?
There is. And it ties directly back to our cosmic catastrophe narrative.
Ooh, I love a good tie-in.
Some scientists believe that the Carolina Bays were formed by impacts.
Impacts, you mean like meteor impacts?
Yeah.
Are you saying that these elliptical depressions could be impact craters?
That's exactly what some researchers have proposed. The impact theory explains the elliptical shape, the common orientation, and the fact that no new bays are forming today.
That makes sense. But if they're impact craters, shouldn't there be more obvious signs of impact? Wouldn't we find pieces of the impactor?
That's where things get a bit more complicated. Remember we were talking about dust ball comets?
Yeah, the giant cosmic snowballs.
Imagine a barrage of these dust ball comets,
Okay.
or perhaps fragments from a larger one,
Uh-huh.
slamming into Earth at a low angle.
Okay.
They wouldn't necessarily leave behind the typical deep, round craters we associate with solid rock impacts. Instead, they would create shallow elliptical depressions,
Interesting.
just like the Carolina Bays.
So you're saying that these bays could have been created by cometary shrapnel. But wouldn't those comets have vaporized on impact, leaving behind little trace?
Exactly. That's why finding traditional impact evidence in the Carolina Bays has been challenging.
Okay.
But there are other clues that support the impact theory. For instance, the rims of some bays are composed of pure white sand, unlike any other sand found in the Carolinas.
That's interesting.
This suggests that the sand might be composed of finely pulverized rock created by the intense pressure and heat of an impact event.
White sand. That sounds more like a beach resort
Yeah, it's a bit of a contrast.
than an impact crater. But seriously, how does that support the impact theory?
Think about what happens when a meteorite slams into the Earth. The impact generates immense heat and pressure, which can vaporize rock and create a cloud of superheated gas and dust. As this cloud cools and settles, it can form a layer of fine white sand.
So it's like a cosmic sandblaster.
Yeah.
Creating these unique sand deposits in the process. That's pretty cool. But is there any direct evidence linking the Carolina Bays to the Clovis-era, the time of the extinctions?
There is. Remember those magnetic grains we discussed earlier?
The ones embedded in everything?
The ones found in Clovis-era artifacts and sediment layers?
Right.
Researchers have found similar magnetic grains in the rims of the Carolina Bays.
No way. So we've got the same cosmic calling card showing up in both the Clovis archaeological record and the Carolina Bays.
We do.
That's a pretty strong link.
It's a pretty compelling connection.
And it gets even more compelling when we consider the presence of radioactive isotopes, hollow spherules, and charcoal in the bay rims,
Right.
all peaking around 13,000 years ago.
That's what the data shows.
Wait a minute, those anomalies sound familiar? Weren't those some of the same anomalies associated with the supernova and the Clovis extinctions?
Exactly. It's like we're seeing the same fingerprints at both crime scenes, the Clovis sites and the Carolina Bays. This suggests a strong connection between the two, potentially tied to the same cosmic cataclysm.
This is incredible. We've pieced together a pretty compelling narrative so far. A potential supernova explosion, debris hurtling toward Earth, impacts creating the Carolina Bays, and those same impacts triggering the environmental changes that led to the demise of the Clovis people and the megafauna.
It's quite a story, isn't it?
But what did it look like?
Yeah.
What did our Clovis ancestors actually witness during this catastrophic event?
Let's step back in time and imagine ourselves standing alongside a Clovis hunting party
Okay.
as the night sky erupts with a brilliant, flickering light,
Okay, I'm picturing that
brighter than any full moon.
Clovis hunters gathered around a campfire, maybe sharing stories.
Right.
When suddenly the sky lights up with a blinding flash.
Exactly.
Ooh, scary.
The brilliant light wavers and shimmers, growing larger and larger, radiating glittering spikes of multicolored light across the sky. The startled hunters grab their spears, their eyes wide with fear, as shadows shift and dance around them. The night landscape, normally shrouded in darkness, is illuminated by an eerie, flickering glow.
Wow, it must seem like the end of the world.
It probably did.
But this is just the beginning, right?
Right. The light show is just the first act in this cosmic drama. The hunters can't see it, but a massive shockwave generated by a supernova explosion hundreds of light years away, hurtling toward Earth.
Oh, no.
And it's bringing with it a deadly barrage of cosmic particles and energy.
This is giving me chills. So the shockwave is on its way. What happens when it hits?
Imagine a monstrous invisible wall of energy slamming into the Earth's atmosphere, unleashing a torrent of heat and light. The air crackles with static electricity, and the ground trembles beneath the hunter's feet. In the distance, fire explosions light up the horizon as fragments of a shattered comet, dislodged from its orbit by the supernova's shockwave, begin to strike the Earth.
This is like a scene ripped straight out of a science fiction movie.
It's a pretty dramatic scenario.
Explosions,
Yeah.
shockwaves, cosmic debris raining down. It's hard to imagine the sheer terror our Clovis ancestors must felt.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a pleasant experience.
What about the long-term consequences? What happened after the initial impact in the shockwave?
The impacts ignite massive wildfires, creating towering infernos that sweep across the landscape, consuming everything in their path. The air fills with thick smoke, blocking out the sun and plunging the Earth into darkness.
So we're dealing with impacts, firestorms,
Yeah.
and a potential global cooling event.
It's a possibility.
This is shaping up to be a true planetary catastrophe.
It's a pretty bleak picture.
Did anyone survive this apocalyptic scenario?
Some did, but their world was forever changed. The landscape was scarred, the climate disrupted, and the delicate balance of ecosystems shattered.
Wow.
The Clovis people, along with many of the large animals they depended on, faced a desperate struggle for survival in a world transformed by cosmic chaos.
This is a truly incredible story.
It is.
We've gone from mysterious archaeological findings to a vivid reconstruction of a cosmic event that could have reshaped our planet.
It's amazing what we can learn from the past.
And the course of human history. But I have a feeling that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
You're right. We've only just begun to uncover the evidence and explore the global implications of this event. There's so much more to discover, so many more questions to answer.
Well, I can't wait to dive deeper. But for now, we'll have to leave our listeners on the edge of their seats.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our epic deep dive into the end of the Ice Age, where we'll explore the global reach of this cataclysm and its potential connection to ancient flood myths found in cultures around the world. It's going to be a wild ride. Welcome back to our deep dive into the cosmic events that might have reshaped our world at the end of the last Ice Age.
I am ready for more.
In the last part, we left off with a pretty dramatic scene. A possible supernova explosion, fragments of a comet hurtling toward Earth, and massive wildfires engulfing the landscape.
It was intense. It's hard to even imagine what it must have been like to witness those events.
It would have been terrifying. But we're not done yet.
Oh, good. Because you mentioned this wasn't just a localized phenomenon.
Right.
What evidence is there that this cataclysm had a global impact?
Well, the evidence suggests that the effects of this event reached far beyond North America.
Okay, I'm listening.
For instance, remember those meteorite streaks aligning with the Great Lakes?
The ones that suggest paths of impact-related debris?
Exactly. Those streaks don't just stop there. They extend across the continent.
No way.
And can even be traced into Europe and Africa.
You're saying that debris from impacts that may have formed the Great Lakes could be linked to sites thousands of miles away?
It's a possibility that researchers are investigating.
That's a pretty incredible connection.
It really highlights the sheer scale and power of this event. It's not just about what happened in North America. It's about a chain reaction of cosmic events that had repercussions across the globe.
Wow. So we've got possible impact debris scattered across continents.
Right.
What other evidence suggests a global impact?
Well, there's the potential for massive underwater landslides. Imagine those shock waves from the Cometary impacts, the ones that triggered wildfires and potentially even altered the climate, traveling through the Earth's crust, causing instability and triggering underwater landslides along continental shelves.
So we're not talking about minor shifts here.
No, we're talking colossal movements of the ocean floor.
Wow.
Displacing huge volumes of water.
So mega tsunamis sweeping across the globe.
It's a possibility.
It sounds like something out of a disaster movie.
Yeah.
But is there any physical evidence to support this theory?
There is.
Lay it on me.
Researchers studying the Atlantic continental shelf have found evidence of numerous underwater landslides.
Okay.
Dating back to around 13,000 years ago.
Interesting.
And some of these, like the Storega slide off the coast of Norway,
Storega slide, okay.
were massive events. They released enough sediment to bury entire countries.
That's a lot of sediment.
And importantly, the timing of these slides coincides with the proposed impact event and the Clovis extinctions.
So we've got underwater landslides,
Right.
potentially triggering mega tsunamis, massive wildfires raging across continents, and impact-related debris scattered across the globe.
It paints a pretty dramatic picture.
It's hard to imagine what it must have been like to live through that. But speaking of living through it, there's a fascinating human element to consider, isn't there?
Absolutely. Remember those ancient flood myths?
The ones found in cultures all over the world?
The ones found in cultures all over the world.
Right.
Well, some researchers believe these myths might actually represent a collective memory of this catastrophic period.
You mean those stories passed down through generations, often dismissed as just myths or legends?
Right.
Might hold clues about a real event that happened thousands of years ago.
It's a possibility that some researchers are exploring.
That's fascinating.
It really is. Think about it. Many cultures, separated by vast distances and oceans, have stories about a great flood that wiped out most of humanity,
Okay.
often attributed to divine wrath
Right.
or the actions of powerful beings.
Okay.
And while the specifics vary, the core narrative of a devastating flood event is strikingly similar across cultures.
It's like a global game of telephone.
Yeah.
But instead of a silly message, it's the memory of a world-altering event being passed down through generations.
It's a fascinating idea.
Do you have any examples of these myths?
I do.
I'm curious to hear how they connect to the scientific evidence.
Well, one example comes from the Ojibwa tribe, who live near the Great Lakes. Their story tells of a great spirit named Chimantu, who warned them about a dangerous star falling from the sky. He urged them to cover themselves in mud for protection, but most didn't heed his warnings. When the star fell, it caused a massive flood that wiped out most of humanity,
Wow.
only sparing those who'd followed Chimantu's instructions.
That's a powerful story.
It is.
It really makes you wonder if they were describing an actual event,
Right.
interpreted through the lens of their cultural beliefs.
It's a possibility.
Do you have any other examples?
I do. Another example comes from the Yuchi tribe from the southeastern United States. They have a flood myth involving a black water serpent who caused the waters to rise, drowning everyone except those who sought refuge on a mountaintop.
A black water serpent. Okay, that's terrifying.
It's a vivid image.
And of course, there's the famous flood narrative from the Bible, the story of Noah's Ark.
Right.
It tells of a righteous man chosen by God to build an ark to save his family and a pair of each animal from a world-engulfing flood.
It's a story that's resonated across cultures for centuries.
These are fascinating parallels.
They really are. It's as if these stories, once considered purely mythological, are suddenly gaining a new layer of meaning in light of the scientific evidence.
I love how these seemingly mythical tales might hold echoes of real events, interpreted through the cultural lens of the time.
Of course, we can't take these stories literally,
Right.
but they do offer a glimpse into how ancient cultures may have perceived and remembered such cataclysmic events.
It's like looking through a window into the past,
Yeah.
seeing the echoes of these events reflected in the stories and beliefs of people from all over the world. It's a reminder that even though these events happened thousands of years ago, they've had a lasting impact on our collective memory.
A shared human experience that transcends time and culture.
But let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the possibility of a supernova triggering this chain of events.
Right.
But are there any other cosmic culprits we should consider?
It's a good question.
Could something else have caused these impacts and the resulting devastation?
While the supernova hypothesis is compelling,
Yeah.
it's not the only possibility.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
One alternative theory suggests that a cometary fragment, or maybe even a cluster of smaller comets, entered our solar system and caused a series of impacts.
So instead of a supernova shockwave pushing a comet toward Earth, we're talking about a rogue comet.
Yeah.
Or a group of them wreaking havoc.
Precisely. And remember those meteorite streaks that align with the Great Lakes? Those could actually be the result of a fragmented comet, breaking up in space and impacting Earth in multiple locations.
Right. It's more like a cosmic shotgun blast than a single bullet.
A good analogy.
But wouldn't astronomers have noticed a comet of that size approaching Earth?
And not necessarily. Remember, we're talking about events that happened thousands of years ago, long before modern astronomical tools.
Okay.
Plus, comets can be difficult to detect.
Right. So it's like a stealthy cosmic ninja
Yes.
sneaking up on Earth
Uh-huh.
and leaving a trail of destruction in its wake.
A cosmic ninja, like that.
But how do we distinguish between an impact triggered by a supernova shockwave and one caused by a rogue comet?
Good question.
Wouldn't the effects look pretty similar?
That's one of the challenges that researchers face. It can be difficult to differentiate between different cosmic events,
Okay.
especially when dealing with events that occurred so long ago. But there are certain clues that scientists can look for, such as specific isotopes or the composition of the impact debris,
Okay.
which might help them pinpoint the culprit.
So it's like a cosmic CSI investigation.
Yeah.
With researchers piecing together clues from the past to determine what really happened.
It's a fascinating puzzle. And one clue that points toward a supernova is the presence of certain isotopes,
Right.
like potassium-40, which are produced in these massive stellar explosions. And remember that supernova remnant we discussed earlier? Geminga.
Yeah.
It's possible that material ejected from the Geminga supernova ended up on Earth.
Okay.
leaving behind those isotopes that we find in Clovis-era sediment layers.
It's incredible to think that a supernova, whose remnants we can still observe today, could be connected to the events that unfolded at the end of the last ice age.
It's a mind-boggling connection.
But even if the Geminga supernova did play a role, how would its debris have reached different parts of the world?
That's where the power of a supernova shockwave comes into play.
Okay, tell me more.
When a supernova explodes, it sends out a powerful shockwave that can travel vast distances through space. This shockwave can disrupt the orbits of comets and asteroids,
Oh, wow.
essentially flinging them across the solar system like a cosmic billiard ball.
So the supernova could have acted like a giant cosmic cue stick, scattering objects, potentially sending them hurtling towards Earth.
That's one possibility.
That would explain why we're finding evidence of impacts in different parts of the world, all seemingly linked to the same event.
Exactly. It speaks to the interconnectedness of our solar system.
It also highlights the incredible power of these cosmic events and the interconnectedness of our planet with the universe. But let's shift back to the human experience for a bit.
Okay.
We've talked about the possible connection between flood myths and this cosmic event.
Right.
Are there other ancient stories that might relate to a supernova or a cometary impact?
There are. Many cultures have stories about twin suns or a sudden darkening of the sky, both of which could be related to the visual phenomena associated with a supernova explosion or the debris clouds caused by impact.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. For instance, the Atayal tribe in Taiwan have a story about a time when Earth had twin suns, one bright and one dimmer. The dimmer sun caused scorching heat that withered crops and made life difficult for the people. They eventually shot down the dimmer sun with arrows, returning balance to the world.
That's amazing. It's incredible how these seemingly mythical tales might hold echoes of real events.
Interpreted through the cultural lens of the time.
Right. There are many ancient myths and legends that depict celestial battles or the fall of gods from the sky. These stories, while often dismissed as pure fantasy, could actually be symbolic interpretations of the chaotic cosmic events that unfolded during this period.
It's a fascinating perspective.
It's fascinating to consider how those who witnessed these events would have interpreted them.
It would have been a truly awe-inspiring and terrifying experience.
Imagine seeing fiery explosions in the sky, objects falling from the heavens.
Yeah.
It's easy to see how those events would be interpreted as supernatural or divine.
It would have challenged their understanding of the world.
And while these stories may not be literally true,
Right.
they do offer a valuable window into how ancient cultures perceived and responded to these events.
They show us how these events shaped their worldviews, their beliefs, and even their very survival.
This deep dive has been quite a journey. We've explored everything from radioactive artifacts to underwater landslides,
Yeah.
from ancient flood myths to the remnants of a distant supernova.
It's amazing how these seemingly disparate pieces of information come together to paint a picture of what might have been one of the most cataclysmic periods in Earth's history. But I have a feeling we're not done yet.
You're right. We've explored a lot of ground, but there's one more crucial piece of evidence that we need to discuss.
There is.
It might just hold the key to understanding the true scale of the destruction that occurred during this period.
It's a big one.
Okay, now you've got me really curious. What's this mysterious evidence?
To find this next piece of the puzzle, we need to journey to a vast icy bay in northern Canada.
You're talking about Hudson Bay, right?
That's right, Hudson Bay.
What's so special about Hudson Bay?
Well, some researchers believe that Hudson Bay might be home to the largest impact crater on Earth.
Hold on. The largest impact crater on Earth?
Potentially.
That's an enormous claim.
It is.
But if it's that big, why haven't we heard about it before?
That's because it's hidden beneath the waters of Hudson Bay.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it wouldn't be a typical impact crater, like the ones we see on the moon. Remember our discussion about dust ball comets?
Giant cosmic snowballs.
And how they form shallower elliptical craters.
Right.
Imagine that on a massive scale.
Okay, so we're talking about a gigantic underwater scar.
Yeah.
Potentially hundreds of miles wide.
It can be huge.
Hidden beneath the waves.
It's a mind-boggling possibility.
This is starting to sound like something straight out of a science fiction novel.
It does, doesn't it?
But the evidence, although still debated, is pretty compelling.
It is.
We'll delve into all the details in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait.
It sounds like we're headed for a truly epic finale to our exploration of the end of the last ice age.
It's going to be a big one.
But for now, we'll have to leave our listeners in suspense.
Stay tuned for part 3 of our epic deep dive, where we'll uncover the mysteries of Hudson Bay, the evidence for a colossal impact, and the lasting effects of this cataclysmic event on our planet and the course of human history. You won't want to miss it.
Welcome back, deep divers. We're about to plunge into the icy depths of Hudson Bay, a place that might hold the key to understanding one of the most dramatic chapters in our planet's history.
In the previous parts, we've woven together a complex tapestry of evidence, linking ancient myths, archaeological discoveries, and scientific data to explore the possibility of a cosmic event impacting Earth at the end of the last ice age. Now, we're focusing on a specific location, Hudson Bay, and the possibility that it conceals a colossal impact crater.
You left us with quite a cliffhanger last time, hinting at a massive impact crater hidden beneath the waves of Hudson Bay.
It's a pretty mind-boggling idea.
It sounds almost too incredible to be true.
I know, right?
What makes researchers think that such a massive crater exists in this location?
Well, the idea might sound outlandish at first, but there are several compelling clues that have led researchers to consider this possibility.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One of the first clues is the bay's unique shape. Unlike many other irregularly shaped bays, Hudson Bay has a remarkably circular outline.
So a circular bay. That's interesting. But couldn't it just be a coincidence?
It's possible.
What else points to a potential impact?
Well, the circular shape is just the beginning.
Okay.
Researchers studying the geology of the region have found evidence of what are called shocked quartz crystals in the bedrock surrounding Hudson Bay. These crystals have a unique structure that forms only under immense pressure, the kind of pressure generated by a massive impact event.
Shocked quartz. It sounds like something out of a science fiction novel.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
I'm assuming this isn't something that forms under normal geological conditions.
Exactly. Shocked quartz crystals are essentially a calling card for high-energy impacts.
Like a cosmic fingerprint.
Exactly. They're like microscopic time capsules, holding evidence of these ancient cataclysmic events.
So you've got shocked quartz in a circular bay. Anything else?
The next clue comes from gravity measurements.
Okay.
Scientists have noticed subtle variations in the Earth's gravitational field over Hudson Bay.
Interesting.
Suggesting the presence of a large, buried structure. Imagine a massive object slamming into the Earth, creating a dent in the planet's crust. A dent that we can still detect through these gravitational anomalies.
Wow. A gravitational dent in the planet.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's mind-boggling to consider the forces that must have been involved. But if this impact was so massive, wouldn't there be more obvious signs of devastation?
You'd think so, right?
Wouldn't we see a huge, clearly defined crater rim?
That's a great question.
I have the best questions.
And it brings us back to the nature of the potential impactor.
Yeah.
Remember our discussion about dust ball comets?
The giant cosmic snowballs.
Exactly. Well, imagine a dust ball comet of colossal proportions.
Okay, colossal.
Perhaps miles wide, slamming into Earth.
Okay.
The impact would be unlike that of a solid rock asteroid.
Okay, how so?
It wouldn't necessarily create the typical deep-rimmed crater we usually associate with impacts.
Oh, interesting.
Instead, the crater formed by a dust ball comet would be shallower and more spread out with a less defined rim.
So you're suggesting that this massive impact might not have left behind a dramatic crater rim, making it harder to detect.
Exactly. It's possible that the crater, while incredibly wide, is relatively shallow and that its rim has been eroded and obscured by the passage of time and the movement of glaciers.
So we're talking about a gigantic hidden scar on the Earth's surface.
Yeah.
A subtle reminder of a cataclysmic event that happened thousands of years ago.
It's pretty amazing to think about.
It's incredible to think that such a massive impact could have occurred without leaving behind a more obvious trace.
It really is. It highlights the immense power of these cosmic events and the dynamic nature of our planet.
Over vast stretches of time.
Yeah.
Even the most dramatic scars can be reshaped and hidden.
Exactly. Nature has a way of healing itself, even after the most catastrophic events.
Let's assume for a moment that this Hudson Bay crater is real.
Okay.
What would have been the consequences of such a massive impact?
Well, the impact would have had devastating global consequences, far beyond anything we've discussed so far.
Okay, how devastating are we talking?
We're talking about a potential global extinction event, triggered by massive shockwaves, tsunamis that could have reached heights of hundreds of feet, and a blanket of dust and debris blocking out the sun for months, or even years, leading to a period of significant global cooling.
So basically, the apocalypse.
Pretty much. It would have been a very challenging time for life on Earth.
But you mentioned that the evidence for this Hudson Bay impact is still debated. Why are some scientists hesitant to embrace this theory?
One of the main challenges is the lack of direct, visible evidence. The supposed crater is submerged beneath the waters of Hudson Bay, making it difficult to study. Plus, the region has been heavily glaciated, potentially eroding or burying impact-related features.
So it's like a giant cosmic mystery, hidden in plain sight. We have intriguing clues.
We do.
But confirming the existence of this crater requires overcoming significant challenges.
It's a tough one to crack, but researchers are working on it.
But the search for answers continues. Researchers are using advanced technologies like seismic imaging and deep-sea drilling to gather more data and unravel the mysteries of Hudson Bay.
Hopefully one day we'll have a definitive answer.
I, for one, am really hoping they find something definitive. It would be incredible to confirm that such a massive impact occurred during this critical period in Earth's history. It would completely change our understanding of the forces that shaped our planet and potentially influence the course of human evolution.
It would be a groundbreaking discovery.
Even if the Hudson Bay crater turns out to be a geological anomaly, the evidence we've explored so far, the radioactive artifacts, the magnetic grains, the Carolina bays, the flood myths, strongly suggests that something extraordinary happened around 13,000 years ago, an event that triggered mass extinctions, reshaped landscapes, and potentially influenced the stories and beliefs of cultures around the world.
It's a reminder that our planet's history is full of dramatic twists and turns.
What a humbling reminder of the dynamic nature of our planet and the powerful forces that have shaped its history. It also speaks to the resilience of life, the ability to adapt and survive, even in the face of catastrophic events.
Exactly. Life finds a way.
It's a testament to the incredible tenacity of life. And it's a reminder that we as a species are part of this ongoing story of survival and adaptation. We often think of Earth as a stable and unchanging place, but our deep dive into the end of the last ice age reveals a very different picture.
A planet shaped by dynamic forces, both internal and external, capable of undergoing dramatic transformations.
Our exploration of the potential impact event at Hudson Bay raises another thought-provoking question.
Oh, what's that?
Could such a cataclysmic event happen again?
It's a question that scientists and planetary defense experts are actively working on. By studying these ancient impact events, we can better understand the risks posed by asteroids and comets and develop strategies to potentially mitigate those risks in the future.
So it's a call to action. We're not just passive passengers on this planet.
We have a role to play.
We have a responsibility to understand the forces that shape it.
Yeah.
And to use our knowledge and technology to protect it for future generations.
It's about being good stewards of our planet.
Exactly. We have the ability to learn from the past, to use our knowledge and ingenuity to protect our planet,
Right.
and to ensure that the story of life on Earth continues, even in the face of cosmic challenges.
It's a story worth fighting for.
Well, that's a powerful message to end on. We've reached the end of our deep dive into the end of the last ice age. We've explored mysteries, uncovered startling evidence, and considered the profound implications of these events for our planet and for humanity.
It's been quite a journey.
We encourage you to continue exploring this topic, to delve deeper into the research, and to draw your own conclusions.
That's the beauty of science. It's an ongoing process of discovery.
The quest for knowledge is an ongoing adventure,
It is.
and there's always more to discover.
And who knows? Maybe one of you listening will be the one to finally unlock the secrets of Hudson Bay
Oh, that would be amazing.
and solve the mystery of the Clovis extinctions.
Until next time, keep your minds open, your curiosity ignited, and remember to always look up at the stars,
But maybe keep an eye on the ground as well,
just in case.
just in case.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.